Perfect. So, hello everyone. I am Silke Heyse and I am part of the Clinical Engineering Innovation team, as I've had a lovely introduction by Gail. By background, I am a product designer and I got interested in medical device design a couple of years ago and found myself here. Um, as the team goes, we're pretty unique within the NHS. There are a few groups like us, but we really try and ensure that medical device design is happening within the NHS and that we can develop our own medical devices. I have a few slides that I will share today, so I'll just bring those up. So today we're going to talk about how we can engineer better patient care, what we're currently doing and what we can do better, and maybe how people like you can get involved. So how can we engineer better patient care? So let's start with who we are. So I've given a brief insight, but we're an in-house team of design engineers and clinical scientists who identify novel and unmet clinical needs and translate these into innovative medical technologies. So a lot of fancy words there, but we're a bunch of engineers and scientists who really try and find the problems within the NHS and try and be a little bit creative to solve these problems, whether that's a device or how it looks within a system as well. So we work within Cambridge University hospitals and of course really, really huge hospital and lots of people in the biomedical campus as well. But we sit under medical physics and clinical engineering, specifically in clinical engineering. So clinical engineering as a whole is responsible for kind of the maintenance, the procurement, looking after all the medical devices that are used within the hospital. So huge department. And I think maybe it was around 10 years ago that a few people from our clinical engineering team thought they spot so many areas where we could use new medical devices or we could opportunities for development. And that's where our small team was born from. And we sit under clinical engineering there. We also work within the entire innovation ecosystem. So of course, we have the University of Cambridge right next door, and there's so much research and great stuff going on there. So we work a lot with clinicians who sit in between kind of maybe CUH and the university. We also work with the wider NHS, NHS England, and in lots and lots of different departments. So we have links with the GATE lab, so for people with prosthetics, with neurology, lots and lots of different areas. We've probably gone into them a little bit with all the work we do. So we try and sit quite broadly. We try and quite have a broad understanding of what goes on in the hospital, although being relatively new to the NHS. So I've been here 5 years, but it's still kind of a mystery to me sometimes. But it can be really, really exciting to find out what's going on. And then we also work a little bit with industry. So as some of you may be aware, we of course have a really thriving kind of medical research landscape within Cambridge, and that involves a lot of consultancies. And so we do work with some design consultancies that's doing some great work as well to try and get them to link in with the hospital and make sure that they are linking with clinicians or patients, whatever that might look like. So that's our position within the innovation ecosystem. So as for our design track record, we have 11 team members and we're growing, which is super exciting. We have 34 devices that we brought into service. So I think we got born in 2014. So 10 years later, we have 34 devices. And 4 of those are UKCA or CE marks. So that's mean they've gone through all the regulatory rigmarole to be able to be used throughout the NHS and in multiple different types of hospitals. So to start off, I'm going to kind of discuss what is a medical device, what are we actually developing within the hospital. And unfortunately, I can't give you a clear answer because it is super broad, but it can go from anywhere from software. So let's say there might be a risk kind of management app. So if you input your BMI, height, whatever that might look like, you might get a risk score at the end of it, something like that. Or we do a lot more with AI now, as that's kind of growing. We do things to do with kind of your typical medical devices, let's say, so maybe like a surgical tool that might be used. Something that I think our team finds incredibly exciting as well is that because we're placed in the hospital, we don't necessarily need to make devices that are manufactured in the thousands and thousands. We are also capable and enjoy doing devices that are bespoke for patients or might only help a small patient cohort without a hospital. So that might be an aid for daily living or whatever that might look like. So kind of smaller scale, but still really, really impactful devices. But hopefully from what you can see, medical devices span a huge area. So our design process is very important to us. As I've said before, kind of getting that understanding of the whole hospital is really essential for what we do. So that of course includes the patient. I think everything in the hospital revolves around that patient. And so we're trying to link the patient together with the pathway that they might experience, with the procedure that they're going through, with the products that they interface with, and also with the staff that they kind of interact with on a day-to-day. And all of those together form kind of the framework that we put our devices in. So we do a lot to understand that framework. It looks different in each part of the hospital for each different patient, for each staff member, for each pathway. But we really try and understand that full picture before we even start considering what a device might look like. So one of the ways that we do this is kind of using a 3 going on to 4-pronged approach. So we first make sure that there's an actual need. What does the patient need? What does the staff member need? What does the system look like, and what does that need to function properly? So what are the needs? And that's our exploration phase. Then we go into our creation. So how can these needs be met? We then go into evaluating. So how well are these needs met? Have we actually met our goal? Are we actually making a difference? Or have we completely designed something that's not making a difference at all, and therefore really shouldn't be kind of clogging up the market in a way? And then once we've done all this, which is a big iterative process, then we manage our devices. So we have a few that we manage in-house, and we're consistently doing something called post-market surveillance to make sure that we are improving the device, making sure it's safe, making sure that we're picking up on things that might not have been apparent when we're designing it. Because of course, once something's in use, it can take a whole life on a whole life of its own. So that's our process that we hold very dear to us. And so the first part of that is exploration. And something that I find interesting from a design perspective is understanding what the problem actually is. So here's a little kind of demonstration of what we might do. I think it's just a little bit fun, but you've got a problem here. You've got a little kid pushing a lawnmower and having quite a hard time with it by the looks of the picture. So what is the solution? I think if you jump straight to it, a lot of people might say, I think I might say, a smaller lawnmower. So making it easier, making it more child friendly. But actually, is the smaller lawnmower the solution? Or is it a better way of cutting grass? Or maybe the actual problem is that we need a method of keeping the grass short. So it's nothing to do with the lawnmower at all. So we are really trying to take it back to basics, seeing what the root cause is, and then trying to solve that rather than trying to stick plasters over lots of issues. So there are many solutions to keeping or to solving that initial issue. So a little case study. So I was talking to a midwife. This must have been about 6 months ago now, actually. And she told me about the fact that she had been noticing that patients, when they had an epidural, they were often slipping down the bed. And because they were kind of numb from waist down, they weren't able to get themselves back. They weren't able to be comfortable, and they weren't able to push themselves back up the bed. Now, course, we strive to kind of keep the patient comfortable. We want them to be able to, they might be in that bed for quite a long time. So we want to make sure that they're able to kind of feel at home and that they're not putting any stress on their lower back or whatever that might be as well. So this was the problem that she came to us with. We can start with a persona. This is a persona, a way of kind of doing a representative user and kind of telling their story. And this is then what we can kind of start to build our device around. So this is Catherine. She is 38 weeks plus weeks pregnant and a low risk pregnancy. So as we said, Catherine wants an epidural with her first baby, wanted an epidural with her first baby, but didn't get to the hospital in time. She now wants the epidural experience. She has been in labour for the last 2 to 3 hours and is at the hospital being monitored. She has just woken up from 1.5 hour nap and has found that she has slipped down the bed. So her goal is really to have a safe delivery of the baby without any complications, and she wants to be pain-free. Her feelings are that she is comfortable in her body, she feels ready for this birth, but she can't settle in the bed. And a few other things. The feeling of numbness in her legs is a little odd. She's not used to it. And she can't stop thinking about food, and her partner is there to help. So we start by kind of humanizing the problem, is maybe a good way to put it, and trying to put kind of our patients and our users in the center of our design process. So what we then did is the team set up a co-design session with the midwives, with a group of midwives. And what we did first is kind of look at why this problem was happening. So this is something called a problem tree, and I really like using it because it makes you kind of broaden out the problem a little bit more. So don't worry if you can't read. I know the text is quite tiny on the diagram, but it's just to show what we were up to. So we had the issue that patients with epidural keep sliding down the beds and can't right themselves. And so together with the midwives, we came up with consequences of this and the causes of this. So consequences including the patient becomes distressed, that all the way up to kind of the anaesthetic team has to be contacted, and they have to go through the epidural process again. If the continued sliding motion kind of peels back the sticker of the catheter attachment, lots and lots of consequences, and also the cause that might be involved with us. So that the head must stay elevated, and this might mean that the feet stay down to prevent high block, and this position makes it easier to slide down. It also is because that the bed does not prevent sliding down, and all these wonderful things that we came up with. So we really broadened out that problem. We identified 5 areas. So the mattress material. So the mattress material itself was super slippy and may have caused the patient to slide down. Patient mobility support. So we may need some kind of support in assisting patients to be independent in repositioning themselves. The catheter attachment itself, so preventing the catheter from dislodging if it does come unstuck when the patient slides down. Also looking at that 10th and 90th percentile patients, so patients with a lower or higher BMI, as they were more likely to kind of shift around and move in the bed, and also just preventing the sliding in the first place. So from that, the midwives together with myself came up with some fantastic ideas, and that was all in this session. So all about co-designing and just making sure that everyone is involved in the design process and is able to put their ideas forward. So I won't go through some of the potential solutions we came up with, but there were lots of really wonderful stuff that even as a team, as my team, we probably wouldn't have been able to come up with the range of solutions that we were able to by involving the midwives as well. So once we come up with these kind of concepts, with these ideas, we do have access to a wide range of prototyping facilities, the ability to start making and testing out what these devices or what these solutions could look like. So there's a range here. I won't go into them all, but we're really fortunate that the Adam Brooks Charitable Trust was able to fund the development of a small workshop within the hospital, which is really fantastic. So here's just another case study, because I think they're the best way to explain things. But we have something here which was used to administer kind of pain relief to patients. And what they had to do was to press the button. However, what we found was that 20% of patients can't press the button, which was a real flaw within their care. There were lots of different requirements that we needed to address, as with many medical devices, but we really tried to take that kind of systems approach that I was talking about before. So we mapped all our stakeholders, seeing where the patient at the centre interacts with everyone else, and the devices they interact with, whatever that might be. And from that, we were able to prototype. So right from the beginning, from kind of that initial button at the back there with a bit of tweezers and a spoon, that we were able to test out, all the way to kind of 3D printing and using our prototyping facilities to quickly mock something up to something at the end there, which looks a little bit more like something that would actually be able to be used. And I believe we had, although I'm not sure where they are now, we had 4 that we were able to kind of loan out towards who might need this, with patients who might struggle otherwise to push the button. Just to briefly go into something else that we do, although I won't spend too long on this, is that we also, as you can imagine, medical devices are a hugely regulated area, and rightly so. And kind of using our expertise in this area, we're able to help others to bring forward really exciting medical devices. So we're able to facilitate clinical research, we're able to demystify the regulatory documentation, and we also provide technical documentation templates. So all medical devices will require something called a technical file, which really is for the safety of the user and for the patients, and it's a big part of it is risk management. So part of the work that we do is making sure that we identify all the risks involved. Well, I say all, most of the risks involved with using a medical device, or a medical device being in the hospital, and then address those appropriately and make sure that the devices have been designed with that in mind, and also that have been tested according to those risks that we've identified. So it's a huge area to ensure the safety of the device. So it can include lots of different things, but some things that we help with are kind of establishing the use. So who's going to be using it? What's the kind of indication for use? So is it that it's a kind of a child going through radiotherapy who might need a certain type of device to immobilize them, or what might that look like? Then we're also going to usability engineering, which is one of my favorite ones. And it's to do with testing the device with the patients themselves, because as humans, even though as a designer, you might design something and think this is super obvious on how to use this. We're all so different, and sometimes you get stuck in your own bubble, and you've just been involved with the design too long, that actually to then be able to give it to a range of representative users that are able to just use the device and perform tasks with it, it's so kind of eye-opening to what you haven't got quite right, and where there might be some use errors in a way, or where there's some kind of potential for the user to be using it incorrectly. So that's a whole area of itself that I find immensely interesting. You've also got biocompatibility, electrical safety, all these different things that come into making sure the device is safe to use and will be used as intended. So just a couple more of exciting design stories, which I'm happy to discuss more if you'd like to in the Q&A. So we've got CamProbe, and just to say that these are both really exciting because these are the ones that have been CE marked and now going into UKCA marking. So they're available on the wider market, and that's really exciting for us to do something that is able to have such a broad reach. So this is CamProbe. It's a biopsy tool on the market for prostate cancer diagnosis, and it's designed to reduce infection risk. So I believe that previously, if they needed to do a biopsy of the prostate, they need to make 12 incisions, whereas now with this one, it's just 2. So that's really, really exciting. And then this is another one as well, which is called the panoramic Maya mask, and it's a CE marked transparent mask appropriate for lip readers, developed in response to COVID-19 pandemic. And I think the exciting thing about this was that it was a clinical need that was recognised from someone in CUH, so a clinician, and then it was kind of the head of the team at the time, or the co-head of the team at the time, that then really just ran with this and was able to really take it from all the way to that clinical need phase, really what we talked about earlier, all the way through identifying those needs. She was then able to prototype lots and lots of different types, do all the regulatory component, and get it to market. And that was all through COVID-19, which I think is a fantastic feat. So although this is probably a bit remiss of me to leave this to last, I think it's mainly because we could definitely do more of this, and I would love to talk to you more about it. So the way we currently involve patients is something that's super important to us, and we will do it from kind of understanding clinical need, being able to talk to staff and patients right at the start, understanding experiences, understanding your needs and your goals, and that will often take place through interviews. We might be able to come to kind of wards and talk to patients there, and we were able to do that recently for for patients with a prosthetic to help them with an aid for daily living. And I find that really, really exciting to do. So right at the start, we will tend to go away and do the design, just do a initial design, and then we'll come back and ask for feedback and ask for kind of for patients to touch it, for feel, give it a go, all within kind of like safe parameters, and kind of be able to work on it in that respect. We also do have patients who come to us with problems and with ideas, and that's really exciting too. What I do think there's room for, and what we're working towards, is working more with kind of the PPI groups within the hospital. So maybe include patients more throughout, kind of even like being part of kind of the entire process, and maybe having a few patient representatives that are involved with the project, and so you're able to kind of get involved with how the project is run, the kind of the trajectory of the project, where it will end up, and having a lot more of like a sustained involvement in the project. But I would, yeah, be excited to talk to everyone about that a little more. So that's all from me today. I will stop sharing and happy to answer any questions that you might have.